How about gathering around me and we'll hold this up? Congratulations, it's an amazing job. Come on around.
America, President Trump just signed his 221st executive order, and this one is an absolute game changer in the war against the cartels. He's officially classified illicit fentanyl and its precursor chemicals as weapons of mass destruction. This isn't just symbolic. This gives the military and federal law enforcement unprecedented authority to go after the cartels that are poisoning American communities. And the timing of this couldn't be more critical because Arizona just reported a 79% surge in fentanyl powder seizures, the highest that they've ever seen.
Fentanyl is now classified as a weapon of mass destruction following a new executive order from President Trump.
What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Now, many of you know that I cover a lot of the bust from the cartels and drug raids on this channel. This executive order is a big deal because fentanyl is now the leading cause of death in Americans ages 18 to 45. This isn't just a drug problem anymore. It is a national security crisis. Let me break down exactly what this executive order does and why it actually matters. Trump's order designates illicit fentanyl and its core precursor chemicals as weapons of mass destruction. It acknowledges that the potential for fentanyl could be weaponized for concentrated large-scale terror attacks organized by adversaries is a serious threat to the United States. But here's the key part that changes everything. This executive order directs the heads of relevant executive department and agencies to take additional steps to combat this drug. That includes telling the Defense Department and Attorney General to determine whether the threats posed by illicit fentanyl justify providing military resources to the Justice Department.
No auto pen. None, ever. We don't like auto pens, right? We don't like auto pens. How about gathering around me and we'll hold this up? Congratulations, it's an amazing job.
This isn't just DEA agents making arrests anymore. This is the full weight of the United States military being authorized to target cartel operations, destroying drug labs, and eliminating the supply chains that are killing Americans. Trump called traffickers bringing drugs into the country a direct military threat, and my friends, he's honestly completely right about that. When a foreign organization is responsible for killing more Americans than car accidents, the cartels have been waging war on Americans for decades. Now, we finally can fight back. The executive order also notes that fentanyl killed around 48,000 Americans last year alone. That's more than the entire Vietnam War. That is more Americans than we lost in the entire Iraq War. And unfortunately, those are the deaths that we just know about. The real number, in my opinion, is probably much, much higher. Now, some so-called experts are already criticizing this move. One professor from Carnegie Mellon said he personally would prefer not to call every single thing that kills large number of people a weapon of mass destruction. He said by that argument, cigarettes would be considered a weapon of mass destruction. But in my opinion, that is a ridiculous comparison. Cigarettes are a legal product that people choose to use knowing the risks. Fentanyl is an illegal drug being weaponized by foreign cartels to kill Americans. There is a massive difference, and this professor absolutely knows it.
Despite the president's claim, government data shows drug overdose deaths in the U.S. last year dropped to their lowest level in 5 years.
Of course, the media is also trying to downplay this by saying overdose deaths have dropped to the lowest level in 5 years. And that's true. Deaths peaked in 2022, close to 110,000, and have been declining ever since. But my friends, you know why they're declining? Because Trump's policies are already working. The boat strikes in the Caribbean, the military pressure on the cartels, the crackdown on precursor chemicals in China, that all has an impact. The 48,000 deaths is still 48,000 too many. And the threat isn't going away. It is evolving. The cartels are constantly finding new ways to smuggle fentanyl, new chemical formulas to avoid detection, and new markets to exploit. Classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction gives law enforcement and the military the tools they need to stay ahead of these particular threats. President Trump's executive order comes as the DEA is launching a major new campaign called Fentanyl-Free America. DEA Administrator Terry Cole sat down with Fox News for an exclusive interview about these particular efforts.
There's no doubt that these traffickers, these foreign terrorists, are designated to target our kids.
Administrator Cole said there's no doubt that these traffickers, these foreign terrorists, are designed to target our kids, you guys. They're using social media platforms to reach young people directly. When you walk through the first floor of the DEA headquarters, there are close to 5,000 pictures of kids who have lost their lives to this poison. 5,000 pictures, you guys. 5,000 American children dead because cartels are using TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat to sell these pills laced with fentanyl. I've said it time and time again. These kids think they're buying Xanax, Adderall, Percocets. Instead, they're getting a lethal dose of fentanyl pressed into these pills to look exactly like the real thing. The Fentanyl-Free America campaign is aimed at young kids, particularly teachers, families, and police officers, to educate them not only about fentanyl, but where it originates and the cartels who are reaching young kids through social media. This, my friends, is a comprehensive approach that goes far beyond just enforcement. It is about prevention, education, and disrupting the cartel's ability to reach American children. Administrator Cole also weighed in on the controversial boat strikes that have killed more than 50 suspected drug traffickers in the Caribbean. He said strikes are driving up costs for the cartels. When cocaine arrives in the Dominican Republic now, it's more expensive. When cocaine arrives in Puerto Rico, it's more expensive. The cartels are now having to factor in the risk of losing entire shipments, which essentially disrupts their business model. Now let's talk about what's happening on the ground at the border, because the numbers coming out of Arizona are absolutely staggering.
A record number of fentanyl busts seized this year by the Phoenix Division of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration.
The DEA says the Sinaloa cartel uses Arizona as a gateway for distributing drugs across the U.S.
This lab has seen a record number of fentanyl powder seizures, a 79% increase since 2024.
The DEA says the Sinaloa cartel uses Arizona as a gateway for distributing drugs across the United States, and they shifted their strategy from fentanyl pills to fentanyl powder. Why? Because the powder is more versatile and it can be pressed into pills, mixed in with other drugs, or sold directly. It's a lot easier to smuggle in larger quantities.
In 30 years of law enforcement, I've never been afraid of a drug. I'm terrified of fentanyl, terrified, because it is just a minuscule amount and your whole life is different. The powder is a little more terrifying for me because it can be pressed or put into anything.
Arizona seizes 60% of all drugs seized in the United States. That's not because Arizona has more drug users. It's because Arizona is the primary entry point for the cartel operation. As of December 1st, the United States DEA has seized, get this, 45 million fentanyl pills and over 9,000 pounds of fentanyl powder nationwide. But the Phoenix Division alone is responsible for a massive percentage of those seizures.
We walked through the DEA's Phoenix Division Crime Lab, where they test all the drugs seized in real time. In a matter of minutes, tests show positive and negative traces of fentanyl in the makeup of the drug.
We have about a 2-week lead time before the drugs that we seize here show up through the rest of the United States.
Lab technicians explain they're seeing fentanyl mixed into everything now. We're talking about cocaine, methamphetamine, counterfeit prescription drugs, even marijuana in some cases. The cartels are putting fentanyl into everything they produce because it's cheap, it's so addictive, and it keeps customers coming back if they don't die. And it's also killing people at unprecedented rates.
And according to the DEA, in 2023, roughly 76% of all pills tested contained lethal doses of fentanyl. Today, that number is 29%.
That's significant progress, but it's still way too high. Nearly 1 in 3 pills seized by the DEA contains enough fentanyl to kill a person. That, my friends, is Russian roulette odds. DEA officials want to see those numbers drop even more, and with President Trump's executive order classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, they now have the resources and authority to make that happen.
Those cartels, forewarned, because we're coming. We're coming like we've never come before.
That's the message from federal law enforcement, and they're backing it up with action. Federal authorities in California announced the indictment of 7 alleged Sinaloa cartel operatives, some connected to El Chapo's son, who's now in jail in Chicago. The men being held in California are charged with narco-terrorism, a new component of President Trump's Taking Back America initiative that elevates drug traffickers to the level of terrorists. While everyone focuses on the southern border, Administrator Cole is also closely closely watching the northern border, and what he revealed about Canada should alarm every American.
The Hells Angels are controlling a good portion of the drug trafficking in Canada.
Northern or southern border, Cole says his eyes remain on the cartels.
This is why, in my opinion, Trump's executive order is so important. It doesn't just focus on one border, one cartel. It treats the entire fentanyl supply chain as a weapon of mass destruction threat, which means every link in the chain, from Chinese chemical suppliers to Mexican cartel labs to Canada smuggling operations, is now a legitimate military target. America, President Trump just fundamentally changed how we fight the cartels. Fentanyl is now classified as a weapon of mass destruction, which means the military can engage cartel operations as enemy combatants. The DEA is launching Fentanyl-Free America to educate kids and disrupt social media drug sales. And Arizona is seizing record amounts of fentanyl powder as the Sinaloa cartel desperately tries to flood the market before the crackdown intensifies. 48,000 Americans died from fentanyl last year. 5,000 pictures of dead children hanging on the walls of the DEA headquarters. The cartels using social media to target kids with pills that look like prescription medicine but contain lethal doses of poison. For decades, we treated this like a law enforcement problem. Arrest some drug dealers, seize some drugs, repeat. But the Trump administration understands what the cartels really are: a foreign terrorist organization waging chemical warfare against American citizens. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.